Let's talk about 6 laws that you can use to build a magnetic personal brand that attracts your tribe with clarity and confidence. Grab your cup of tea and let's dive into it. I'd be lying, and so would anyone else who tells you that everyone is going to love your next post, your next video, your next podcast episode, or the key messages in your next presentation, or the overall messages that you represent in your personal brand or in your business, because that is not actually the way that good marketing and branding is designed to be. Good marketing and good branding is designed to appeal to certain people. No good brand is designed to be everything to everyone. A brand is designed to be an acquired taste. It has distinction about it that appeals to the right group of people and resonates deeply with that group instead of vaguely trying to communicate with everyone. So today I want to talk about how you can create a personal brand that is not just liked, but is actually felt. So let's dive into law number 1. Law number 1 is the law of the intentional repel. Now, when we're talking about building a magnetic personal brand, remember that magnetism requires polarity, which means equally as important when it comes to attracting is thinking about the concept of repelling. When you are building a personal brand or a business that is the perfect shade of beige, you can inadvertently be creating a brand that is by default bland, and it ends up appealing to no one because it doesn't have an emotional resonance about it that is going to create that deep personal connection with people. When you are thinking about what makes a personal brand endearing, it's easy to focus on all of those qualities that make someone attractive and to try to emulate those things in your own personal brand. But I would also challenge you to think about what actually pushes people away from a personal brand or your own personal brand and the value that might exist in doing that. Because when you are pushing a certain audience away or a certain community away, it means that you are potentially challenging a status quo. You are doing something that is likely creating an emotional reaction. And when you do that, it means that you're not just coasting along with the norm of the masses and trying to be everything to everyone and ending up being a brand that isn't appealing to anyone. Because there is actually value in potentially intentionally pushing those people away to strengthen the connection that you have with your audience or with your community. Because by doing that, you are not diluting your audience with people who you were potentially never going to win over fully anyway, or not be able to create a deep emotional connection with. And in the process, you strengthen your audience with the people who are more likely going to resonate on an emotional level with you. But how do you get people to create an emotional connection with you? That brings me to law number 2, which I am calling the law of demonstrated values. And I've drawn inspiration from Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, where the main premise in this book is that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Simon Sinek's golden circle theory highlights that your communication should begin with your why. For example, your beliefs, your values, why your company exists, what your purpose is, before moving in to your how. Your how communicates your value proposition, what actually makes you unique in what you offer to the marketplace. And finally, your what. That is where you focus on your products and your services. The issue is that more people will focus on their what and communicating their how and their why after, instead of actually beginning with their why. So he talks about using this megaphone for this golden circle theory to project your values so your audience understands or your community understands what you represent and they can connect with you on that level. And this leads nicely into law number 3, which I am calling the law of visible beliefs. And I want to extend this conversation regarding start with why further. Simon Sinek describes what he calls the celery test. He uses a metaphor where he describes having a business, and say you go to a dinner party and everyone is giving you advice about your business. They're telling you that you need to buy M&Ms, that you need to buy Oreos, that you need to buy rice milk, that you need to buy celery, meaning that when you go to the store, you want to buy all of those things, everything that everyone has told you to buy. You purchase all of those things, and as a result, when you're standing in line with all of your items that everyone has told you to purchase, no one can see what it is that you actually believe. But when you are communicating through your why, you're filtering all of your choices through your why, meaning that when you go to the store and you want to represent the healthiest lifestyle possible, you buy the rice milk and you buy the celery. And when you are standing in line with those items, then people can see exactly what it is that you believe in, as opposed to when you are trying to be everything to everyone and your message becomes unclear. So make sure that you are showing your community what it is that you represent. Tip number 4, I'm calling the law of silent cues. And this is where your visual identity can play a really important role in attracting your tribe. Whether it is your personal style or the colors that you choose to represent as a part of your business or your personal brand, they can act as silent cues for you. They all communicate meaning and they resonate with your audience in a particular way, or they potentially are going to push other people away. So that is something to keep in mind when it comes to building the visual identity for your brand or your business. It can be your silent companion in creating visual cues to attract your tribe. Law number 5, I am calling the law of energetic alignment. Some of the greatest minds in the world have believed that everything is energy. And that is something to keep in mind when it comes to your personal brand and your business. The energy that you exude is going to attract certain people and it's going to push away certain people. But don't underestimate the value of your unique energy in creating those connections with people. Because with billions of people in the world, there are going to be people who are attracted to your energy, no matter what your energy is. I feel like the common advice when it comes to personal branding, communication, writing, presenting, can often be to project this over the top energy about your brand. But advice like this fails to consider that different people are attracted to different things. For example, if you are a soft-spoken, slow talker, this might be exactly what resonates with some people. They might feel really comfortable in that space that you create. But if you are this bold, energetic, fast talker, that might be right up other people's alley. The point is, if you have a particular energy, it is very unlikely that that energy does not exist somewhere else in the community or in the world that you will be able to connect with. There are going to be people that resonate with your energy, whatever that energy is. And even having said that, remember that opposites also attract. So while you may think that you need to be a certain way in your community or in your industry, it could be the difference that you bring to that community, to that audience, that is actually what resonates with people. They like that you are quite differentiated from the energy that the rest of that community has. And law number 6 is the law of similarity. This is something that I learned about in Catherine Caputa's book, You Are the Brand, where she talks about this similarity principle. This is where you connect with other people based on common ground. So this might be things like your hobbies, your interests, your political beliefs, or your school ties, so where you went to school or where you went to college or university, might be what creates that common connection with other people. But this can be the foundation for establishing that relationship. So when it comes to building your personal brand or your business, don't underestimate the value of those things that you may think are irrelevant or potentially on the peripheral of your brand in actually being the thing that connects you to your audience. They might love that you have a particular side interest or a hobby that they also have. It might be just what differentiates you from the rest of the marketplace and why they feel this particular connection to you. Remember that building a personal brand is not about being liked by everyone. Your personal magnetism is going to be unique to you and your people, and that's your magic. Thanks so much. Subscribe for more like this, and I'll see you in the next episode.